Smoke on the ground, teeth in the dark, hands on my skin, tearing apart. But it and it swallows. No escape, always there. Every path, everywhere. Eyes in the stone, blood on the sand, whispers inside, taking your hand. You're now, but if it swallows. No escape, always there. Every path, everywhere. Stone, fire, sand, blood, night. Breathe, circle, done. No escape, always there. Every path, everywhere. No escape. The sand remembers the fire flickers
Yes, sir. You already know what it is, man. We are back here to serve some more game on the ground for them hungry hounds. We just got the pound and we're ready for the next round. It's a fire music. Let's go. You already know, man. It's an older song. It was on my last album, Awaken. I got some new stuff in the works. Uh, I think y'all are gonna like it a lot. It's a purely rock slash metal based album. Um, it's kind of in between rock and metal type stuff, you know. So think of it kind of like almost like System of a Down Reborn type of stuff. But anyways, with that being said, y'all can see the title of this episode, this live, whatever you want to call it. Candace Owens investigation into Charlie Kirk. Now this episode that we're gonna be checking out did release like probably like 2 or 3 days ago. So it was one that I ended up skipping because by the time the next day I'd rolled around, she had already uploaded another one. And that was one that I had checked out. So we're gonna go back and watch this one. It's stuff that we probably already know, anyways. But you never know. Had to delay Spider-Man filming due to serious accident on set. Sustained head injury from handling a female. Yeah, I heard about that, bro. I hope dude is okay. Uh, it's tough, you know. Jackie Chan would probably tell him to keep going anyways. You know how many injuries that dude sustained doing his own stunts. But no, for real though, I hope Tom is straight. I hope that female is straight. And yeah, with that being said, the last episode that we did yesterday, that motherfucker reached almost 1,000 views. It's sitting at like 750 something views. That is insane. Appreciate y'all for tapping into these episodes, man, for real. And don't be afraid to comment nothing down. If you start yelling and screaming at me, I will mute you. I don't give a fuck. But we can have conversations and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? We're here to dissect and dialogue. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this up on screen, man. I did skip to a certain section of the episode of stuff that I haven't seen yet. So if you guys have seen it already and you don't want to watch it, well, that's tough shit. So with that being said, Wednesday, I will be checking out the one that she just dropped today. Anyways, with that being said, let's change this goofy ass layout. I got the hiccups. Alright, three, two, oh, shit, hold up. Let me do this real quick. Boom. Alright, three, two, one, let's get it.
And they're not doing any of it. They're just doing that thing, which is like, are we still talking about it? No, now they're actually doing the like, this is inappropriate. Charlie's funeral's coming up. Stop yourselves right now, okay? Stop. This is exactly, no, oh, you're inappropriate. No, you know what was inappropriate? Charlie Kirk getting shot. While we all had to watch that, we are all suffering PTSD and the lack of answers that we are getting from the feds. That is the only thing here that is happening that is inappropriate. I want to be very clear. Actually, not the only thing. Bibi Netanyahu trying to spin this into, he's my good friend, I just invited him. Well, Tucker Carlson completely shredded that narrative. I don't like that Bibi lied so quickly. It doesn't make me comfortable. I don't like it, okay? And he just went live yesterday. He also brought in Megyn Kelly and other people, and he spoke about what Charlie was going through because he saw him very shortly before his assassination, and he intimates to everybody what it was exactly that was on Charlie Kirk's mind and what he was living through in that moment. Take a listen.
I was shocked and sickened by the reaction of the ghoulish and really repulsive reaction of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to Charlie's death. Basically made it all about him and all about his country, immediately trying to take the energy, the sadness, the grief that people felt over Charlie's murder and redirect it towards support for whatever project he's involved in. And by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu is not the same as the nation of Israel at all. Bibi is despised by many people in Israel, and if you know people who live there, you know that that's true. There are huge divisions within the Israeli government. I mean, there are certain parts of the intel world in Israel that do not support some things that Benjamin Netanyahu has done recently. So it's not the same as attacking Israel, attacking Bibi, but I don't think I've ever seen anything lower than his attempt to hijack Charlie's memory and use it for his own political ends, particularly because what he said was completely untrue. Charlie.
I will say that I did not know that there were different, like, divided ends in the government of Israel. I didn't know they were that separated over there. That's fucking crazy, bro. That's crazy. Now, when it comes to like the people and stuff, like the citizens, you're gonna have people that don't like you, whether you're the president from one side or the president from the other side. It doesn't matter. You're gonna have people that don't like you. It's a given. But I didn't know the government was like separated and shit like that. That's crazy.
Didn't hate Jews. He loved Jews. He had tons of friends who were Jews. He loved the state of Israel. He loved going there. He did not like Bibi Netanyahu. He said that to me many times, and he said to people around him many times. He felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country, and that it was shameful and embarrassing and bad for the United States, and he resented it. Didn't hate Netanyahu. He wasn't out there with a placard saying that, but he certainly expressed that to me and a lot of other people. And there's no question that Bibi's defenders on the internet will call me a liar or a kook, but that's a fact. And enough text messages exist that I think it can probably be verified in pretty short order. Not that it needs to be, because that is true. Shortly after that speech, there was a very intense attack on Charlie, and to some extent on me, not that I really noticed. But on him, I have no donors. He had $100 million worth of donors. And so, because he was involved in a different project from just yapping on the internet, which is what I do for a living, he was dependent to a great extent on his donors, of course. It's a nonprofit. And they went after him and tormented him. Not all, of course, many were supportive, but the ones who were offended by my speech, and there was a small, very intense group who were, tormented Charlie Kirk until the day he died. 2 days before he died, he lost a $2 million donation because he had publicly pledged to bring me to the next Turning Point conference in December. And he told me over the past couple of months he was losing a lot of donations over that pledge. They put out a flyer basically saying that I was going to be at this event giving a speech. And so he would text me and say, man, I'm really taking a lot of heat for this, and people are really mad. The American Jewish Committee called in a statement Charlie Kirk an anti-Semite and, quote, dangerous. Charlie Kirk, an anti-Semite. Yeah. He was not an anti-Semite. He was the opposite, and he was not dangerous. He was a great lover of people and a purveyor of peace. He was the opposite, and he was very stung by that. Those of us who've been called names for a long time are a little bit harder to offend. Charlie was deeply offended by that and expressed some of those feelings on Megyn Kelly's show and in other places. But that did not let up. The reason I'm telling this story is because he called me and then came to see me at my house about this topic. And I said to him every single time, look, I've got my own way to communicate my views. This is actually not the most important issue to me. There are lots of things I can talk about. Don't need to come to Turning Point. I can take a year off, no problem. I hated seeing how much he was suffering, the hassle he was getting from people, and I was being attacked too. By the way, it was a huge effort. I wasn't fully aware of it, actually, because I don't go online that much, but there was a huge effort by people, some of whom I know and have helped, and like Seth Dillon at the Babylon Bee, for example, someone who had his own problems with free speech, who was famously canceled. I like Seth Dillon. I had him on a couple of times. I had dinner with him to show support. Seth Dillon was out there demanding that Charlie Kirk take me off the roster, pull me off stage, because I had said things that Bibi didn't like or that he didn't like or whatever. Shocking.
See, and that goes to show you that just because you've been around somebody a few times and had dinner with them and whatnot, you don't know that person. You really don't. People are afraid of what's real. And Charlie Kirk was real. Man, that's insane. I didn't know that he was facing that much backlash just for having fucking Tucker Carlson on there, bro. That's wild. That is wild.
That someone whose whole persona is wrapped up in the idea that we all get to speak, and if you don't like it, make a more compelling case, that person and many others like him were advocating for me getting pulled off the stage because they don't like what I'm saying. This is a trend, and one that we should be really concerned about. It's not just about Israel, by the way, at all. The trend is really simple. People with power don't want to hear disagreement. They don't want to be challenged, ever. That's why we have free speech, to acknowledge that even those of us or people with less power still have a right to talk because they're human beings. You don't own them. So time after time, Charlie would call me or come to see me and let me know, wow, or show me text messages. These people are really mad that you're speaking. And I would always have the same thought, like, I feel pretty moderate, actually. I've never been an Israel hater. Obviously, I'm not an anti-Semite. I just don't want more wars, and I don't want a foreign country humiliating my country and telling us what our laws have to be. I mean, this seems like pretty basic America First stuff, and he would say, I totally agree with you, but they want you off the stage. And I would always say, no problem. And he would say, no, it's important. It's a matter of principle. I want you to be there. Great.
See, and that's how you know Charlie Kirk was a real one, because the amount of shit that he was facing for having Tucker Carlson at his events, and he still said, come through. He still said, come through. See, that's why they hated Charlie so much, bro, because no matter the amount of pressure that they would put him under, he would not fold. He stayed loyal to his viewpoints. He stayed loyal to his people. He stayed loyal to his faith. And he would not crack. That's how you know Charlie Kirk was a real one.
By the way, I'm not accusing anyone of being involved in that murder. I'm not trying to mutter darkly or imply anything. There's a lot we don't know about who murdered Charlie and why, but I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. But I think it's important to say that out loud because it's a fact, and there are many liars out there trying, Bibi Netanyahu, number one among them, shamefully, who are trying to distort the truth, a truth that I know and can prove.
What I want to add here is that it takes a truly demonic spirit, right, to be a part of the people that were swarming, pressuring, threatening, intimidating Charlie, to then flip in 1 second after he dies and say, pretend it never happened, like they were just great friends. That's weird to me. It's very weird to me. We wouldn't be here if they didn't do that. They could have said anything, by the way, like, Josh Hammer, I know how you were messaging him. Like, release the messages, buddy. Just release all of your threads with Charlie in the 48 hours leading up to his death, okay? Let people see it. They did it at first regarding me last year. They insisted, and I said, Charlie, I couldn't even come up for air. I said, Charlie, don't even think about it. I didn't care. Don't even fight your donors. Like, just let them think they won, because I got to rebuild my entire life. I was just publicly fired. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, you're good. Like, you are so good. I couldn't even care about this less. Like, you're a brother to me. Do what you have to do to survive. Okay. And then he just saw them moving into, it wasn't just Candace. They wanted Tucker. You know, I'd like to talk to Tucker. Tucker shouldn't be here. And then Charlie realized which way the wind was blowing, because it's never enough. It's never enough with them. Okay. They want to be the authority on speech. And it is reality that those very same people who were pressuring him and threatening him and intimidating him and calling him an anti-Semite and telling he was hosting anti-Semitism, then became the fastest people to try to eulogize him and to say, look no further, he effectively died for Bibi Netanyahu. It's wrong, and we have to stand up to that narrative. Matt Gaetz jumped into the ring and basically just doubled down on what Tucker Carlson said. He tweeted this. I have personal knowledge as to many of the claims Tucker is making here. They are 100% true. Yes, they were behaving like demons. There's just no question. It's very weird when a demon then pretends that they weren't being demonic. You could be chill. You could have transformed it after Charlie was assassinated. You could have said, wow, my last correspondence with him was I was upset about something, and now I realize that life is so short and fragile, and it's really not worth it to skirmish with one another. I really regret my last correspondence. And then I would be like, okay, that was really authentic and real. Instead, they were like, we had a wonderful time. I just thought Trump wasn't, what? Oh, loved Charlie. Just loved him so much. Something is weird about that. Spiritually, it's evil. That's what it is. It's evil. And in case you needed any more, another person to tell you that he was being intimidated and they were bullying him about who he could speak to, here's Megyn Kelly. She joined Tucker Carlson, and she says this very quickly. Take a listen.
Charlie is not the only one who's been threatened or was threatened to cut ties with you or not platform you. I too have gotten that, especially since you've been more outspoken on Israel. And I couldn't care less the amount of pressure they put on. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. This is madness. Why would you want to silence such a powerful, important voice just because you disagree with them on one subject, one on which we've all watched you sincerely evolve as you grapple with principles you've been espousing for years, like America First, like what's happening to Christians, like what's best for us and our kids here. How do I keep them safe?
He said Tucker was right yesterday. Hey, tell me what Tucker said, because I don't know what he said yesterday.
My number one priority. And I've been just absolutely disgusted and recoiled from people who have tried to pressure me on it. It, of course, never happened. But I know from speaking to Charlie, he felt it too. You've heard it from Charlie, that he felt, and there is a layer here of nefarious pressure to have certain narratives go only one way.
Yes.
That must be called out and must be fought.
Love that. Like, Megyn, that was amazing.
Let me put it to you like this. What if, and this is just an idea that just popped in my head just now. What if Netanyahu is the body that the spirit of the Antichrist inhabits. I don't know. It would be crazy. But then it does say that after the 3.5 years of tribulation, the Antichrist would wage war on Israel. So, it could not be, or it could be that he wages war on the people of Israel. Who knows?
Thank you. I think all of us right now are just feeling we have to speak. Okay. So if you know something about what was going on, if you have something, send it all to me because I'm organizing. Okay. I'm getting a lot of tips. By the way, many of you guys spoke about the individual who very quickly, I think 4 minutes after Charlie was shot, went and took the camera down and moved his chair and stood up and took the camera down like literally 4 or 5 minutes after he.
Thoughts on everyone saying fear-mongering rapture tomorrow, latter-day rain. And let me tell you something. The reason I know that the rapture ain't happening tomorrow is because, for one, I don't think that the rapture is real. And two, Jesus said that even he don't know the day nor the hour. So all you goofballs out there talking about, oh man, the rapture is going to happen tomorrow, just stop. Just stop. You're making yourself look like a fool. For real. You really are. That's what I think about it.
Was shot. I want to let you know I was able to figure out who that person was because I recognized one of the individuals, and I reached out to that individual and I said, you know, I've known you for a long time and I would like to see the footage. I would like to see the footage, and I think the world would trust me. If there's nothing weird that happened on that day and there's about 4 or 5 cameras on that day, I'm not going to publish the footage, but I want to see it with my own 2 eyes. So I can stand on this platform, so I can sit here on this platform and I can say to the world, no funny business happened. Truly, we can all go home. It was Tyler Robinson and he acted alone and there was nobody else there. And this kid just, I guess, after having a life where he didn't bother anybody, just woke up one day and chose violence and then decided to explain every layer of what he had done that day via text messages. I want to be able to look people in the eye honestly and say that. So I want to see all this footage. So I am working to get to the bottom of it. Okay, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories floating in about the security guard and people thinking he was making gestures. I know that security person. He's a good guy. It would shock me. I usually get a vibe about somebody. Not that guy. Not the guy that they say he's like rolling up. He tends to do that, roll up his sleeves. I don't buy that one. Okay, I don't buy that one. And but here's the thing. That's my gut. My gut has led me in the right way. And I want you guys to know that once I look at all the footage from every angle, if I'm putting in this formal request and they said they would speak to the lawyers, I think the world will trust me to say there was no funny business and this is exactly what happened. So I've put in that request and I want you guys to know that. And I mean business. I'm getting to the bottom of this. And lastly, I want to say to this like new flex operation mocking pastor, regarding which, by the way, the first time they went after Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, a source told me, and I would love to get this confirmed. I'm going to find.
So I think where everything started with Charlie changed his mind about Israel was PBD podcast episode 314 regarding October 7th, 2023. That boy know the whole timestamp and everything, boy. That shit crazy. And the episode number 2, that boy be doing his own research. Hey, shout out to you for making sure you got your facts right, though. I think after this, we might check that segment out.
Finds out that $150 million was spent on that, and it came from Bibi Netanyahu. I would like to figure out if that's true. But anyways, obviously investigating this, and I'm not going to let it go, okay? You're not going to emotionally use some jujitsu, and I'm referring here to Roy or Rob McCoy, who says, I'm Charlie's pastor, and here's the truth, or whatever it is, to look the other way right now, okay? You're not going to tell me that I have to feel too bad to investigate who shot my friend in front of my face. So stop the nonsense. This is what Charlie's pastor passed around to all of the people that were intimidating Charlie leading up to his death. It's funny that Charlie's pastor couldn't find his voice. But Bibi Netanyahu was lying about Charlie. Here's pastor. You know what he's saying are lies. No, he didn't find his voice saying anything about Bibi Netanyahu. Candace investigating things? Yeah, that's got to stop. Here's what he wrote, okay? What's his name? Rob McCoy. He wrote, Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor. I want to simply say this regarding Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace and never publicly spoke poorly of her, though he disagreed with her. He never operated nor entertained gossip or innuendo concerning Candace. My only comment I offer regarding Candace is this: I only wish at this tragic time of mourning she would be the friend to Charlie Kirk that he was to her. He would never have treated Candace or her family in such a way had, God forbid, this tragedy been hers. A friend loves at all times, and he drops a biblical proverb. Now, let me say this, okay? I hope that Charlie would have been the sort of friend that I'm being. Okay, he would have never. Why? Why wouldn't Charlie Kirk have investigated if I had been killed and we were being so obviously lied to? I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. I think Charlie was a real friend and he would not have dropped it. He would not have let it go. Least of all, because he was being emotionally manipulated by a guy who curiously kept his mouth shut when Bibi lied. You knew if you were really his close friend and pastor how he was feeling about Bibi Netanyahu. You knew if you were his close friend and pastor exactly the names of everybody who was intimidating him and how poorly they are misrepresenting the things that he believed. So why don't you focus on being more honest as a pastor and giving as much information as you can possibly provide so that we can continue this investigation? If you can't do this, I'm going to have to ask for your silence. Okay? Be quiet.
Those facts. They need to release the last few interactions that Charlie had on his phone, whether it's email or text messages or whatever. That's what I think they should do. They won't, but somebody needs to, so we can see who was, being quote unquote aggressive or whatever, who would have the most motive to pull a stunt that happened on him. Says, I don't know if they were still friends or not, to be honest. I think they were. I think they had a lot of disagreements. If you're talking about Charlie and Candace, I think they had a lot of disagreements or just differences of opinions and whatnot. So they might not have been as in touch. But I never heard either of them speak poorly about each other. And they were tight back when Turning Point USA first, became a thing. They were tight. They were like this. They were like two peas in a pod. And when you got two people that are like two peas in a pod like that, you can't really separate them. You can't. It says, she has shown text messages from May and was on tour with him last year. They were friends. See, exactly. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Mean that. Nobody is going to stop me from investigating what happened to Charlie Kirk, because it feels to me, okay, that this is a conspiracy, a federal level conspiracy, which means that there's going to be somebody else, maybe somebody close to Charlie that could be involved in this, right? And when I am satisfied that there is no conspiracy, I will communicate that. But at the moment, no. I am feeling the exact opposite. I don't trust anybody. There's a lot more information that I wish I could share, but I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to get uglier. And these absolute demons are trying to justify saying you shouldn't investigate until the funeral, until the state funeral, until, as I have heard, people are trying to buy their way, okay? I've given this much money. I want to say some remarks about Charlie Kirk, okay? Stop, okay? Just stop. A real friend would investigate someone's murder, and they would not stop until they felt good about the resolution and the answers that they were given. And I'll let you know when that is, Pastor, okay? All right, before I get into some of your comments and see what you guys are thinking about all of this, I want to remind you about the Wellness Company, because you may have, or maybe you didn't, but you...
We're going to skip through the advertisement.
Cognitive decline. You straight out of the vibe that I have right now. And like I said, the feds could easily prove that that's not true. You have the footage. You must have the footage. And walking back to...
Some people even thought they were a couple in 2017. Some people are just goofy.
His car after he was in the maroon. Caitlin writes, Candace, you're a force to be reckoned with. Thank God Charlie has you on his side. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family. God bless you, Candace Owens, and your family. God bless America. Keep Charlie's legacy alive. I know that Charlie made it to heaven, and I think he's watching. I think he's looking down, knowing that, like his wife said, evildoers have done some things, and
Yeah, she explained why she didn't go. It sounds kind of goofy. She said that there were multiple different news media outlets that kept emailing her and messaging her, asking her if she was going to be at the memorial, and she said that didn't sit right with her. And and because she said she felt like it was a setup, like they might have been trying to get her out there in the open or something. I don't know. Honestly, I can't really blame her for feeling that way after seeing what happened to Charlie. You know, I'm sure she probably wanted to go, but after all these different outlets started, you know, basically harassing her, trying to figure out if she was going to go or not. I don't know. Seeing as she has kicked the hornet's nest 100 times, she needs to watch out too. So I kind of understand why she didn't go, but I also kind of understand how it's fucked up that she didn't go. So Kirk got married, which probably naturally caused distance between them two, and also since she was married and pregnant. Yep. She probably, what happened was she might have distanced her relationship with Charlie a little bit out of respect for her husband. In which, if that's the case, you got to respect that, because that's something that a real woman's supposed to do for her man. If her man say no guy friends, she better cut him off. Look up Charlie Kirk, October 12, Newsweek. Gives the account of the podcast of what was actually said and the questions he asked and what they called him for having questions. Interesting. So, matter of fact, let me go ahead. Let's see. So Charlie Kirk, October 12th. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find it. I'm thinking this might be it. Right here.
September 10th, 2025, a dark day in American politics. The hugely influential conservative youth activist Charlie Kirk assassinated, speaking during a campus debate at a university in Utah. Conservatives lost an important voice on Wednesday, but so did the president. Kirk not only had a major impact on American politics, but just on the youth movement he ignited that helped Donald Trump win the presidency in November.
Donald Trump is running on a once-in-a-generation campaign to revitalize the American dream for a generation that has been mortgaged by the DC political class over the last 50 years.
You really cannot overstate this guy's influence among young people on the right. And it's not an exaggeration to say he himself could have probably been president one day. Reaction to his death was immediate.
This is detestable what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society, and this is not who we are.
Trump ordered flags at half-staff across the country, Republicans and Democrats alike, joining and condemning this latest spasm of gruesome violence that has erupted across this country.
This news is not just that of the murder of a prominent political figure, but also the news of a wife who grieves her husband, of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old who will grow up without a father.
I'm Carlo Versano, and this is how the killing of Charlie Kirk shook this nation this week from the White House. If you're still struggling to understand the significance of this guy, Charlie Kirk, I understand, I get it, right? For many Americans, he existed in this sort of amorphous world of right-wing influencers and provocateurs. He was much more significant than that. Kirk built an entire political apparatus from scratch with Turning Point USA. If you're unfamiliar with Turning Point, it is the nonprofit that Kirk co-founded in 2012 when he was just 18. It was dedicated to recruiting and organizing students in the conservative movement, which Republicans had famously failed to accomplish in recent generations. Charlie Kirk was not Alex Jones.
I can get Obama's emergency alerts through this.
He was not Nick Fuentes.
You're having something like
What the
Taliban
hell,
rule
Alex?
in America, in a good way.
Or any of these guys whose main job is to sort of stoke division on the underbelly of the internet.
As many of you know, I visit college campuses, so you don't have to.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm
Oh, so
registered.
I vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters in this country that will determine the future of Western civilization.
Kirk was on his patented American comeback tour when he was fatally shot at Utah Valley University. He created a space for open dialogue and debate about hot-button topics in the news, and he had some hot-button opinions, controversial, some might say divisive, but opinions that he was not afraid to state in the public square, quite literally.
Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage. We need far less people that are hyper-educated in the humanities and communications and psychology.
But perhaps more significantly, we can really credit Kirk for fostering the young red wave that undoubtedly helped propel Donald Trump to the White House in 2024.
And you need to go to every single person you know and say, are you voting for Trump? Well, I don't know if I'm going to vote. And you have to repeat this. You say, no new wars, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
In states where young voters have really long favored Democrats, Trump and Kamala Harris were pretty much neck and neck during the campaign last year. And we can probably thank Charlie Kirk for that and for Trump's eventual win.
I won the young people by 37%, and Charlie Kirk will tell you TikTok helped, but Charlie Kirk helped also.
Kirk also shared a close relationship with the president's family, and his inner circle. I mean, it was President Trump himself who announced Kirk's death on social media.
And I want to express my tremendous gratitude to Charlie Kirk. He's really an amazing guy. He's done something that is just incredible for somebody really of his age. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Kirk was a big Trump supporter, but he also wasn't afraid to go against him. Earlier this year, Kirk criticized Trump for sending B-2 bombers to strike those Iranian nuclear facilities.
The younger voters that I represent on college campuses, they are war-weary, they don't want foreign conflict, they don't want foreign intervention.
Arguing it could turn off young supporters because of Trump's commitment to, quote,
no new wars.
But notably, Trump didn't criticize Kirk when this happened, even as the president got into tiffs with other right-wing voices like Tucker Carlson, who similarly criticized the bombing of Iran.
It's so distressing. It should go without saying, but I mean, I'm praying for the success of whatever America does, because I'm praying for America, but I'm concerned.
President Trump, I really believe, is on a mission from the Almighty to save this country.
I think it's safe to say that Trump respected Kirk. As I said, Kirk was close friends with the president, his son, Donald Trump Jr., as well as Vice President J.D. Vance, who was rumored to have been tapped as the president's running mate last year, thanks in part to a push from Kirk.
Who do you want to see as Trump's VP?
J.D. Vance.
Really, that is your
Yes.
pick. If you had a second choice, who would it be?
J.D. Vance.
The White House has a lot to thank Charlie Kirk for.
Donald Trump is evidence that God is not done with the United States of America, that our best days are ahead of us.
Before we end, I want to share some final thoughts on the state of political violence in this country. What happened Wednesday is a...
So this pretty much didn't say shit about what I'm looking for. I just wasted a whole 5 minutes of my fucking life that I won't get back of shit that I already know. So, unless Homeboy has a link, he can paste it somewhere or whatever. It's not coming up. So we're going to move on to the other thing that he also said too, which was the PBD podcast. Episode 314. And he said it was at 28 minutes. Bet. 28 minutes.
What's going to happen next? Oh, can we? It's not a big deal. It's never happen again. Well, that's what we thought it was never going to happen. 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, nobody thought 9/11 was going to happen. So I just have way too many questions that makes me think about what the motives are. And if we go dark, I'll put all those things out there.
Yeah.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel is on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools and by reports 6 hours. Let's say it's 3 hours.
That's suspect. Go ahead, Rob.
It's also not like a right-wing reporting. This is from the New York Times. The long
Thank
wait
you.
for help as
Look at
massacre
this.
unfolds in Israel.
9
I can't think of a
hours.
more liberal news outlet than the New York Times.
And by the way, I'm actually very pro-Israel. So let me be very, so I'm not exactly.
Well, I think we all are.
No, I just want to make sure my position is clear here. But so Patrick, there are other explanations. It's possible that the Netanyahu government was double-crossed by bad agents. Okay? That's dark, but it's not as dark as what we're talking about. Okay? Another aspect is that Netanyahu might have traitors in his government, like legitimate traitors that had infiltrated. I was texting with some senior people in the IDF, and they said, Charlie, I can't say too much, but let's just say the same problem you have with the left in America we have here in Israel. So there's something to think about. Just something to think about, right? Is that maybe there's some people within those intel agencies that aren't as sympathetic. Or maybe, Patrick, maybe they might have gotten a tip, they might have gotten whispers, but no one thought it would be 1,200 Jews dead. That's a potential, right? Because here's the essence of it. The essence is this. This is the closest thing to the Holocaust any of us have lived through. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.
Yeah, this one's very weird.
Can I comment on the?
Well, I will say that I never knew that Israel was on the brink of a civil war. That's crazy. So, IDF soldiers testified they were told to stand down between 5 and 9 a.m. that day. Music festival was moved from another area to where it was that day. Let me go back, because I feel like I missed something here. I feel like I missed a little bit, so let me go back and listen to something.
What's going to happen next? Oh, can we, it's not a big deal. It's never happen again. Well, that's what we thought it was never going to happen 9/11. Before 9/11.
Easy.
Okay, so you're sitting there, you're like, maybe the center people are like, okay, these guys sound normal, right? Okay, so let's play dark. Did you need something like this for you to create a war to the point where the re-election percentage of a president goes so high when there's a war so you can get re-elected? Maybe. Is it because the amount of chaos you learned in 2020, the elections was so chaotic, so it increases the chance of you being able to win another election because the more chaotic it was, you can tell people what we're going to be doing and they're already accustomed to it. Maybe they'll be more open-minded to it. Maybe. Is it because maybe even on the other side for me that I think about Netanyahu and Israel? First of all, who has the best secret intelligence in the world? Mossad. You mean to tell me? No. You mean to tell me these guys have been that low-key underground for a year, built a city like the one in Israel, and they train their guys to go in and how to break into homes and how to take people hostage? And you're telling me you didn't know? Seriously? And Egypt comes out. By the way, the story came out and said, well, we told them, we warned them that something was taking place. Another story came out about Egypt. Right, if you tell me what page it's on.
Then they said they didn't. They're going back and forth.
Yeah, they're saying they didn't. Right. So make up your mind. Did you know or did you not know? So what is really going on? So then I go a layer deeper and I'll turn it over to you. Is, okay, did Israel almost, because I'm talking to this other guy and he says, I said, you realize what happened in 2014? He says, yeah. I said, 2014 when they, the 3 girls were kidnapped and then, whatever happened, rape, travesty, and then Israel comes back and kills 2,000 people. He said, it should have been 20,000. It should have been 200,000. So I said, where are you going with this? He says, well, listen, here's what I'd like to see happen in Israel. What's that? Only Jews live in Israel. Nobody else. We don't need to coexist. It's just not going to work out. Is this a way for Netanyahu's legacy to be he eliminated Hamas? Is this his way for saying now I got the card. I got the get out the card for me to go straight up. 100,000 on the blockade of Gaza Strip, 300,000 reservists you put up there. Now we're going to go groundwork. We're going all freaking out because the world gave us the permission to do so. Is that what it is? I don't know. I just keep continuing to have a lot of questions the more I think about it because so these guys are coming up. So what, we're going to have another 9/11? And they're going to come and do what? They're going to go into your community. What are they going to target next? Where are they going to go next? What's going to happen next? Oh, can we? It's not a big deal. It's never happen again. Well, that's what we thought was never going to happen. 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, nobody thought 9/11 was going to happen.
When you're completely isolated and you're not around any of this.
Well, not only that, when you are surrounded by very successful, good-looking, attractive, high IQ people, that's not number one, Patrick. So they are not incompetent. They are not in a neighborhood that is going to be overrun. They're not in the Rio Grande Valley. They're not in Kerrville, Texas. That's going to be overrun. But there's another part to this though, and some of the billionaires look at themselves. There's two categories that I want to mention that we haven't. They look at themselves as masters of the universe, and these are usually tech people. This is Larry Page. This is Sergey Brin. This is Mark Zuckerberg.
I get those guys.
Okay? That for them, they really think they can reconfigure society through AI, technocracy, almost like a highly sophisticated oligarchy, because they think that the problem is that we haven't had smart enough people in charge. Almost rule by committee, and I want to be in charge of that committee, okay?
Yeah.
But the second part, Patrick, is that some of these guys will do whatever it takes so that they are favored by the Politburo. They'll give any amount of money. They really don't have any ideological spin either way. They just want to be on the winning team. If the right wing was ascendant in the country, some of these guys would be giving money to like pro-life clinics and churches. Some of these guys just go with the wind. They want to be protected by the regime. They don't really believe anything.
Dude, let me tell you, man. I mean, okay, good. Let's play the dark game.
Oh,
let's go dark.
They're there.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm on a flight yesterday, and my pilot is the pilot I like. You actually met this pilot.
The Israeli guy? I love that.
Yeah, he's the pilot.
Yeah.
So, I see him. I said, "How you doing?"
Not good.
Not good.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
I
I said, what do you think about what's going on? Last time he was with us when we went to Milwaukee.
Yeah,
so,
I like him.
Yeah. So obviously not good. Family, how's family? Not good. Family in Israel. How about this? How about this? Anyways, I can't tell you everything we talked about because I found out who he is and what he did, his job in Israel. Very interesting. Very serious guy. He says to me, he says, you know what though? The Israelis community right now is very happy with Joe Biden. I said, really? Tell me why. He says because he's got our back and he's shown so many great things he's doing. Blinken is going there and he went and shook hands with Netanyahu, and they're showing support and they're with us and they're saying pro-Israel and they're saying this, and even Jean-Pierre came out and said
just the SWAT. She went after the SWAT.
That's right.
The Israeli community is happy with Joe Biden. That's when you know you should be curious as to what's really going on. That's crazy, bro.
Which is kind of weird, right?
Crazy.
Okay, so you're sitting there, you're like, maybe the center people are like, okay, these guys sound normal, right? Okay, so let's play dark.
So now we're caught up back to where we were. Yeah, I see what you're saying by what he was talking about. You said, when Charlie started questioning the government of Israel. That's crazy, dude. I don't know. I also didn't know that it was as separated as it is right now. I also know that a civil war was about to break out. There's a lot of shit going on over there. I see why they don't really report on what's going on over there in Israel now that I know that this bullshit's going on. I see and understand why. Because if the world sees that they're about to break out in a civil war, their enemies would come against them like hell, like fire raining down from heaven. That's why. So I understand it from that point of view. I get it from that point of view. But come on, bro. If you can't control your own, if you can't, I'm not even gonna say control. If you can't get, well, I should say control, because if you can't keep the civil rest within your own country, that's your own damn fault. Give me a minute, y'all. I got a phone call to take real quick. All right, we're back. My bad, y'all. I had to take a call just real quick. Let me go ahead and fix this layout. All right. It says, hold up, let me. Where's the? It says, anybody dick sucking on talking shit about Candace is a bunch of piece of shit, worthless idiots who are scared of the truth. Hey man, you ain't say one lie. You ain't say one lie. And hey, Denise, I'm gonna tell you right now. Why the fuck do you watch somebody that you don't like? If you don't like the content, why are you here? Candace isn't even on the fucking screen, and you're talking about somebody who's not on the screen. Come on now. Where's the common sense? Where's the common sense? Anyways, we're going to roll this back a little bit more so we can get a little more context on the issue that Charlie was talking about.
Another name for you, Reid Hoffman. Another name for you, Mark Benioff. Benioff's a legit Marxist. Like that guy is to the left of Stalin.
He bought Time Magazine.
Yeah, He's Salesforce. And these are just on top of my head, right? So you get Lorene Powell Jobs, you get Benioff, right? You get Mackenzie Bezos, you get Soros. You're talking about serious capital in addition to the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and in addition to the institutional capture and control. And then you get some people that quietly, like I agree, I think Jeff Bezos is probably in private more libertarian than he is liberal, based on everyone I know that knows him. But he wants to like rockets in space, and he owns the Washington Post. He doesn't seem like someone who's going to fight billionaire tyranny. Instead, he's going to do what most people do when evil's on the march. Nothing.
Pat, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Like we're talking about these massive entrepreneurs that have built billion-dollar plus companies.
Correct.
Okay. Built on the basic premise of free market capitalism, entrepreneurship, building these types of companies.
So Candace is doing more investigating than anyone. God bless her, man. Hey, when Candace puts her mind to something, she's gonna get it done. That's just how it goes. And I'm glad she's investigating it. And I'm glad there ain't no other goofball that's just doing some bullshit investigation and comes up with a bullshit ass answer.
How does someone like that, who's built something that understands what it means to create jobs and build companies, how do they go so far left to this Marxist ideology? You called it egalitarianism. You interviewed the one guy that wanted to bump up everybody's pay in the company to $70,000. It was sort of contentious. How do you
Dan Price.
Yeah, Dan Price, exactly. How do you go from building such a massive company, built on the principles of what America's founded on capitalism, free enterprise, the free market, and then go so far left? How does that happen?
Well, I mean, I'm really trying to process this. It's either second generation money, so meaning you didn't earn it, because if you earn it, it's a different mindset. But many of these guys earned it. Okay, Jobs, his wife got it. Okay, Melinda Gates, fine.
Mackenzie Bezos.
Mackenzie Bezos, totally get it. Those three, totally get it. Like in our community, I'll walk by and, I'll see some of the people that, or maybe they married, they're the second or third wife of the guy after he made their money, and then the first wife's no longer in the picture. The first wife was probably, but then goes, well, you see when they talk to them, they just look down at you sometimes. Okay, very weird. And some are very friendly, right? You process both of these and how it is. And then you go and you ask another question and you say, okay, so maybe someone's got.
So besides Pat and David, I can't stand those other guys. Who are you talking about by other guys? See, this is why y'all gotta quit going into people's comment sections and talking about the things that you hate. Like, if there's something you don't like, don't watch it. Straight up. If there's something you don't like, change the channel. Now, I know you're not necessarily talking about this, but come on, man. Don't be coming over here with that gossip shit.
Something on these guys. Maybe they're scared of somebody. Maybe they're frightened of somebody. Maybe somebody even more powerful than them has got them under control for whatever reason. But the more and more you go deeper, you're like, dude, this is going to eventually end up hurting you. In what way do you think this is going to favor you? Like, actually, what do you think is going to happen? I understand somebody, like for...
You said Pat Davis co-host. So why the fuck are you watching if you don't like it, bro? This shit always cracks me up. Y'all like watching shit that you don't like so you can get worked up. What sense does that make? At least it's women doing it. Most times it'd be men nowadays. Oh, there's an echo? All right, bet. Hold on. Give me a sec. We're going to fix that echo problem. I'm just going to throw these headphones on with the mic so it doesn't echo no more. Let me know if y'all can hear me or not still. Let me go to settings real quick. Okay, so it should be good right now. Because you're watching me, I don't watch PBD anymore. I mean, I guess that's understandable. So I don't like horror movies. Turns on someone watching Nightmare on Elm Street. You ain't even lying. So that's what I'm saying. You know, at least you're not a dude gossiping. That's all I gotta say. You know I gotta talk shit. Let the lady be lady. Yeah, that's fact. That's what I'm saying.
For example, proxy wars. Okay, I understand a proxy war. Why do I understand a proxy war? To me, you know what a proxy war is? Oh, Adam, you won't believe what Vinny said to you. Vinny, you won't believe what Adam said to you. And I watch you guys fight. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a proxy war, right? That's instigating.
Yeah, shut up, Adam.
That's instigating to see that. So maybe you do that to create division in the enemy's house. Mm-hmm. Okay, deceptive? Yes. Dark, for sure. Sun Tzu? Yeah, totally is. But you know what? I get it. Because at least it's what? Someone else's house.
Yeah, yeah.
But imagine you pin your own kids to each other and you intentionally, get the front security. Let's just say you live in a gated community to get him to get fired, and you replace him with sloppy people that are 82-year-old security. You know how you go to a hotel, they got these 82-year-old security people they hire, and you're like, who's this guy going to stop? Right? This guy's going to stop anybody? No. Then you allow people to come into your community for what?
It's a great stream. Salute to all watching. Hit the like button. It's 100% facts, man. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button for daily content as well. I'd say about 5 days out of the week content. Yeah. But no, for real though, man. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well.
For them to invade your house and hurt your own kid, that's the part where there's a disconnect that doesn't make sense.
So some of them are insulated. I mean, they have priced out the real estate market in their home of Sun Valley, Aspen, Kennebunkport. They are legitimately isolated from any of the consequences of their political decisions, right? I mean, if you go to Aspen, you would think that like we have solved every problem, right? Yeah. I mean, if you go to Aspen in July, right? Everyone is like fit and trim. There's not like a BMI over like 35, right?
I was literally there in July.
Am I right?
This is freaking paradise.
No, all of a sudden you're like, why can't we have world peace? Yeah.
Like and subscribe. I appreciate you, Yola. You already know what it is. You a real one. Pat co-host is annoying, though. I'd be muting the stream till he hush. Dude was so excited about Memorial. He said Kirk would have been a better Trump had he not passed. I think, well, from what you just said, I haven't really watched much of Pat David. This was just a recommendation. But what it sounds like to me, from what you just said, is that dude sounds like he's a follower. Like he a credit boy. There we go. He's incredible boy.
And is there a you know what? No, it's almost like you just like all of a sudden like get like completely.
And the unfortunate part about Incredible Boys is no matter where you go, you're gonna run into them a lot. That's just how it goes. You can't get around that because they're everywhere. It's like when a rapper dies and they hear one song and say he was the next Pac. Hell no. People be making some goofy ass claims and assumptions.
Isolated. And
Totally.
you're not around any of this.
Well, not only that, when you are surrounded by very successful, good-looking, attractive, high IQ people, that's not number one, Patrick. So they are not incompetent. They are not in a neighborhood that is going to be overrun. They're not in the Rio Grande Valley. They're not in Kerrville, Texas. That's going to be overrun. But there's another part to this though, and some of the billionaires look at themselves. There's two categories that I want to mention that we haven't. They look at themselves as masters of the universe, and these are usually tech people. This is Larry Page. This is Sergey Brin. This is Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I love how we're like watching this low key backwards. Like I keep going back and catching up to where I need to just watch this shit from the beginning. But I know Candace just uploaded another episode today, actually earlier. So let's go back and check that out. We can save the rest of this for another time. Let's get back to the content that was originally planned.
All right, you guys, happy Monday. Erica Kirk, man, she really is just a moment. The speech that she gave, everybody was just wowed by her. I felt my energy personally, like last night going into that, I was effectively like soaring in the air above the convention center, like a dragon above, waiting for Erica to just be like, fire. And I was just going to come down and swoop in out of nowhere. All the politicians, all the fake people, everyone was just going to be in that moment toast. But she didn't call for war. Erica did not call for war. In fact, she did the exact opposite, which is.
So when you show Candace, the chat flies up. Man, you ain't even lying, bro. People, no matter how much people hate Candace, they will always love Candace for whatever reason. Why? I don't know what it is about Candace, but people love Candace even though they say they hate her. I don't know why.
Is what was.
It's kind of funny. I think they just like looking at her, honestly. I think some people like looking at her. Some people like just hearing her. Some people like listening to her so they can make some stupid ass assumptions about her. I don't know, bro. People love Candace. People love to hate Candace.
So stunning. It was unbelievable. The forgiveness that she granted, the strength that it took for her to call for that forgiveness, it's just unmatched, and it really made a difference. And I was being serious when I tweeted that I think it was the most consequential speech in American history, a message that everyone needed to hear, including myself, a message of complete submission to Christ. And by the way, later on, we're also going to discuss another kind of submission to Christ, which is submitting yourself to truth. Kash Patel has now come out and issued a statement fully capitulating to the public insistence that they're lying to us. They are so clearly lying to us about what happened on the day that Charlie Kirk lost his life. Nothing they've told us thus far makes any.
I haven't seen this statement. My bad, y'all. I'm curious to what he said. We might try to find it. I'm sure she'll probably read it or show it on here. But if she don't, we might try to go find it.
Sense, and somehow it's only getting worse. So welcome back. Let's jump right into this. So angry and it was for her, but she arrived at forgiveness and she did it in front of the entire world. And I think that every single person should watch that speech. Truly, they should watch that speech. They should watch Tucker Carlson's speech. I don't think even showing you clips of it, I'm going to show you one, could do it justice. You should watch it in its entirety, the emotion, the message of it, and you can obviously
So she is, I bet.
see why Charlie fell in love with her, right? I remember meeting Erica. Charlie and I were in New York for something, one another, and he was falling for her hard, but he wanted to play it cool. He wanted to play it cool. So he's like, come meet her at Del Frisco's in New York City. And I came there and she was just lovely. She was genuinely such a nice person. And I was like, Charlie, just go for it. Just go for it. And he did go for it. And last night, I really do think that the entire world needed to hear her message. What you took from it, how you could apply it to your life, is up to you. But specifically, the part that she shared that provided me with so much peace, and I needed to hear it truly, was when she explained that Charlie did not suffer, because that, thinking about that is, I really shed so many tears over it. Just thinking that he suffered even for a moment. It was my favorite part of her speech. So I'm going to play that right now.
One moment, Charlie was doing what he loved, arguing and debating on campus, fighting for the gospel and truth in front of a big crowd. And then he blinked. He blinked and saw his Savior in paradise.
Look at all those people that showed up for Charlie Kirk's memorial, man. That's how you know he was loved by a lot of people.
And all the heavenly mysteries were revealed to him.
I mean, that it's just beautiful, to really think about that, that he just blinked and then he was with the Lord. And it is just a fact that, and Charlie just loved the Lord. It was constantly, like I told you, going through the conversations and how much he would just say, I need to pray about it. I need to pray about it. I need to pray about it, wanting to marry Erica. First thing he said, which I think I showed you guys last week. And Erica's correct. It is important to remember that message.
Say Jimmy Kimmel apologized and begged to get back on TV. Hey, I saw something about his show getting reinstated, bro. I mean, it is what it is. I don't feel no type of way about it. You know, dude said some things that were actually false, and he got booted off, and he apologized, and now he's back on. I could care less because I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. I don't have no type of feelings towards it, but I guess good for him.
Of forgiveness that we have within ourselves, and it sometimes feels very hard to do that, but we are called upon to forgive people, to forgive our enemies, even in moments that it seems impossible or extraordinary to do so. But it is also important, it's not really a but I want to assert that it is also important to remember that what Christ is, as I said at the top of this show, is truth, right? Christ is truth. And we are not getting the truth right now of what happened to Charlie Kirk on 9/10. And to be very clear, I am going to need it. I demand it. In fact, I'm now currently working on a minute-by-minute timeline, which I will have for you guys later this week, of what exactly happened in the seconds and minutes following Charlie getting shot. I need to know. I need to follow bodies. I've already been able to, as I asked over the weekend, locate George Zinn in the crowd. It seems a bit suspicious to me how far he was, and then suddenly they take him through a pathway. I mean, that's him right there. Thank you to the person that sent this picture.
Is that the old dude that got arrested at first?
But then I find him on video, and I'm trying to understand how he made it down the pathway and was taken through to the same area that they had just taken Charlie in the car. I have a lot of questions, and each and every one of them will be answered by the end of this investigation. And I also want to put it to you this way. So much more has come to light that I have not yet presented. I am working with other journalists, different aspects, asking them, hey, you look into this, I'm going to look into that. And the first thing that I think I should make abundantly clear is I am relieved that Erica Kirk is at the head of Turning Point USA, because just like I alluded to last week, and which I will double down on now, I believe that people within that company betrayed Charlie. Okay, that's just what I believe right now. And I want to make sure that I have these facts entirely on my side before I tell you guys more. I will say, if you are a rat on a ship, you should probably flee now. I recommend it.
That's a fact, man. Hey, like I said, I think in yesterday's video, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people that were paid a lot of money to set him up. I really wouldn't be surprised, bro. Like, it sucks. Because when you run a business, such as, especially when it's involved in politics, as heavily as TPUSA is, you got people who are always going to envy you, so to speak. Because when you're someone as big as Charlie, You got the influence that Charlie has. Other people want it, or other people want to see you fall because they're not in your position. Whether or not they get to your position or not after you fall, they really don't care. They just don't want to see you in that position. And so if somebody else comes along and says, hey, I get you this amount of money if you go do this, if you go do that. And so that's probably what happened. Got to keep the Judas away from you. That's 100% facts. It's like Cypher on Matrix. That's 100% facts. Homeboy was offered his dream life in the Matrix and said, you know what? That's a bet. You couldn't give me $1 million to live inside the Matrix. You couldn't make me a rich multi-billionaire to live in the Matrix with my dream house, my dream cars, and all that to live in a fake world. I'd rather be in the real world than a fake one. And that's just how it goes, because I would know in the back of my mind that it's not real, and it would torment me day and night knowing that it's not even real.
Anyways, you guys, on Friday, we did an episode. I want to be clear, I didn't think that that episode was going to have the reaction that it did, but I am grateful. We were unpacking the footage that was going viral of the guy that was taking down the camera, which was directly behind Charlie's head, a mere approximate 4 minutes after Charlie was shot. Everybody thought that it was very suspicious. I recognized the individual and reached out, had a conversation, saw the footage, and made the promise that I was not going to share it. Although I said to you, I encouraged them to share it. I believe that the reason everybody is a conspiracy theorist is because people don't share truth, right? Once you share everything, there's no room for conspiracy. And when I was sharing what I saw, I was doing so because I was just thinking that, this could help. Like, this can obviously remove people from their conspiracies. And then it kind of occurred to me that what I shared was a bigger deal than I had imagined by saying that I didn't see any blood. And that is a fact. I did not see any blood. In fact, the only blood that I did see at all, I'm talking about blood on the back, was on Charlie's hand, on Charlie's left hand, which, as many people have been saying, means that the blood moved forward. We don't need to get into all of the gore. But what I didn't expect thereafter was for the Turning Point USA spokesperson, Andrew Colvett, to issue this statement as people were asking questions like, hey, how is that possible? How was there nothing in the back if this is the gun that was used? Andrew Colvett tweeted this over the weekend. I want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie. I'm usually not interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize that this is somewhat graphic. But in this case, the fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle, and I want people to know. I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. He said the bullet, quote, absolutely should have gone through, which is very, very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc., end quote. And then, now this is Andrew, but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. I mentioned to his doctor that there were dozens of staff, students, and special.
I remember reading or hearing something about how the bullet didn't go through, which was a good thing, because if it did go through, somebody behind him, from the trajectory of the bullet, somebody from behind him at that angle would have got hit as well. Which is crazy, seeing as how it went through the neck. The neck is all different kinds of soft tissue, and like there's very small bone in the neck, right? And the bone is mostly towards the back, like the spine. And the angle that it went through, it's like right in here. It should have gone through, because it's really the neck is nothing but muscle and meat and skin, which is crazy.
Guests standing directly behind Charlie on the other side of the tent, and he replied, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. His bone, referring to Charlie, was so healthy, and the density was so impressive that he's like the Man of Steel. It should have just gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. In the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. Even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable and miraculous. End statement. Now, first, I want to say this because people were attacking Andrew Colvett immediately. I want to say that it is good to remember that this is Andrew Colvett's literal job, okay? He is a PR agent. He runs a PR company, and his job is to respond to online chatter and online questions. And sometimes it may not even be what you want to say. In fact, it should never actually, if you're going to get your job, be necessarily what you want to say. He also was very close to Charlie. So I would imagine that he's under a tremendous amount of pressure. The company is moving into a different direction. We are still just over a week after Charlie lost his life, and he has to be the messenger. Who is directing that message? We don't know, but his job can't be easy at this moment, okay? If I say to my PR agent, I want you to make this statement, he works for the company, my PR person just has to make a statement, okay? So I think I would like to just respond to what is being said objectively rather than to attack Andrew Colvett's character. That aside, the statement objectively feels to me like the manipulation of a Christian audience, right? They know Charlie's audience is Christian. And therefore, what they're selling to us is you should believe, you're a believer, right? As a Christian, you believe in miracles, right? Like you believe in Christ and the miracles that Jesus performed, right? Well, then you should just believe this. There's something about that I don't like. I don't like that. I don't just, this was a miracle and that should just be the end and no more questions should be asked. Yes, the conservative base is filled with Christians, but also the conservative base is filled with a lot of hunters, okay? People that hunt and they know weapons and they know how weapons work and they know how weapons don't work. And this particular statement to me does not pass the sniff test. Now, again, when I shared that information, I had assumed they were going to say the angle went through this. I did not imagine they were just going to say that it was a miracle. Alex Jones immediately took to X Live. This began trending. The statement began trending, and he jumped onto X, and he responded to that statement saying this. Take a listen.
The spokesperson for TPUSA just posted 2 hours ago that they talked to the coroner and that Charlie Kirk was shot with a .30-06 in the left side of his neck, the carotid artery.
Dude, you know what's crazy? When I saw that grainy footage of a gun, I said, you know what? It was probably a 30-06. And now he just confirmed it was a 30-06. That is insane, bro.
And that he's a man of steel, and that the bones in his neck that are like chicken bones stop a bullet that travels 2,500 feet a second out of the barrel at 200 yards, depending on the grain of the cartridge and the rest of it. Probably hit him at 1,900 feet per second. I've shot hogs at 500 yards, 30-06, right to the side. Tiny hole blows a 4-inch hole out the other side. We're talking through 2 feet of a hog. Boom. Hit him in the head, brain completely blows up. They just said he got shot with a 30-06 and that it didn't go through.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. And here's the thing. If you were going to bring me to the argument that this truly was a miracle, it probably would not be in the midst of a circumstance where the feds are lying, right? That is like not now, right? Because it could be a miracle also that Tyler Robinson decided to take a break at Dairy Queen and issue some texts that sound like they were written in 1822 and tell every single, it could just be a miracle, right, for the feds and go through every single detail of exactly how he planned it, why he planned it, including his MAGA dad, who's been extra MAGA lately, that he doesn't actually live with, and nobody knows why the dad is extra MAGA lately, and explaining where to find the weapon and just a miracle that he happened to leave this letter that has since been disappeared. But he took a picture, his lover took a picture of it. It could just all be one big federal miracle. But I'm not inclined to believe that at this moment. Okay. I'm not inclined to believe any of this at this moment. And so we press on. Okay. And because Alex and many other people and hunters and conservatives were going, yeah, no.
You know, I forgot about that image of Tyler at the Dairy Queen. There's a lot of stuff in this case that is extremely fishy, bro. Extremely fishy. I seen some other people pointing out the fact that in like the Discord chats that he was in, every other sentence was spelled differently. Like it was multiple different people talking as him. Spelling words differently. Different words, the same words using different sentences differently. Like why that right there didn't make no sense to me. The terminologies used and the text message exchange doesn't really make any sense to me. Unless he was a dude that's just, in, I guess, fascinated with old school style verbiage, I guess. I don't know. Didn't make some sense to me. And that picture of him and Dairy Queen doesn't really make no sense to me. But you know what I'm really curious about? That house. That house that they the people in the neighborhood talked about, the neighbors. They said they've seen a bunch of different cars coming and going with out-of-state license plates on them. That's what I'm interested about. Because that sounds very fishy to me. And their house is abandoned too. Or vacant, so to speak.
I mean, people were even posting videos of them shooting to show what that damage would be like. Kash Patel then made an extraordinary move, and I would say I would refer to this as a capitulation to online sleuths. He tweeted this. He wrote, as the director of the FBI, I am committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusion. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of this assassination. We are meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message confession and related conversations, Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, hand gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of his assassination, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and the days leading up to September 10th, 2025. Some details are known today, while others are still being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Our primary focus is to complete this investigation and deliver justice. To protect the integrity of the investigation and subsequent prosecution, we cannot release every piece of information that we have to the public right now. We will ensure every question is addressed at the appropriate moment regarding specific details, such as questions about the plane that allegedly turned off its transponder after departing from an airport near the assassination.
So, game time, you talk about comment, no, just no. Did you understand what he meant when he said that? However, what? However, it's true. Some people will hear one song from another rapper and say, man, he's the next Pac, and that's 100% facts. What's your take on all this with Candace? I think there is a lot to unpack. There is a lot to unpack with what's going on right now. There's a lot to unpack with everything in general. What I learned about Netanyahu from what Charlie Kirk was saying earlier on the PBD podcast is very interesting. And it changes a lot of narratives. What I learned about, see, that's the thing, man. I really don't know. I gotta know more so I can really make an informed opinion or decision on what I really think is going on. So I think as of right now, I'm just gonna stick to there's a lot to unpack. And that's a fact. And I'm sure that my view or quote unquote opinion or whatever on what's going on will begin to maybe change a little bit here and there, or maybe it'll be reinforced on certain things here and there, the more that we go deeper down these rabbit holes. But there are a couple of red flags, I'll tell you that. As far as Erica goes, I mean, it's tough that she got to live without Charlie now. It really is. She got to raise her 2 kids by herself. Like that's not that nobody really wants to go through. It's hard to decipher what's real and what's not real. It's becoming very difficult to find the truth and real evidence. And that is whenever you pray and ask God for discernment to know what's real and what's not real. And that's just 100% facts. People will call evil good, good evil. People will love lies and hate the truth. They would twist the truth into this deformed, decayed image. And that's a fact. Yeah, no, yeah, no, that is facts. So people do be doing that. That's 100% facts, bro. This goofball said that Charlie Kirk would be the next President Trump. No. Just because Charlie's good at speaking off the dome of his head and he has real American ideas did not make him the next Donald Trump. It just means that he's Charlie Kirk. Just because somebody's good at rapping and good at doing storytelling and good at having a commanding presence on the mic and on stage does not make him the next Tupac. It just makes them that person. That's a fact. Some people are just goofballs, though, and they like to compare. Candace is great. I believe we also have a friend like that. Hey, man, that's the thing. That type of loyalty is rare. You will rarely find that type of loyalty anywhere. And so when you do find it, you better hold on to it. And that's 100% facts. The everyday people in your life, whether they're coworkers, whether they're just regular associates or your neighbors or people at the grocery store or whatever, if they were offered $1 million to set you up, they would take it. If somebody had $1 million in hand, cash, and offered it to them to set you up, whether it's for murder, for robbery, for kidnapping, whatever, they would take it. Why? Because they only think about themselves. And that's a fact. Cherish people who have high quality. You ain't even lying. You ain't even lying. You speaking facts. Make sure y'all hit that like button and that subscribe as well, man. We lit up in here. We're gonna keep this going though for a little while longer. Then I gotta go because I got some other things that I do have to take care of. But we're gonna keep going for a little bit.
Nation site. We can share updates when answers are confirmed. After interviews with the pilot and consultation with the FAA, we determined the transponder was not turned off. Incomplete flight data in rural areas caused the apparent gap. The entire FBI mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk. We will not rest until justice is served, and our investigation into the assassination will continue until every question is answered. Okay, so first thing that I can very quickly debunk.
You say money isn't everything, though. Well, see, that's the thing. A lot of people really believe that it is. A lot of people's whole lives are based around making more money. And so when your life is based around making more money, you're going to do what you need to do to make more money, whether it's good or bad. You're going to sell out your morals. You're going to sell out your values. You're going to sell out your faith. You're going to sell out your character. You're going to sell out your own homeboys and homegirls if you're obsessed with chasing money. And that's how some people are. They see money over everything. They worship money, which is why they never have it.
Is when he says that they looked into the transponder thing And yeah, we checked it out and actually they just lost service. Okay, that disputes what the plane owner themselves, he identified himself, Derek Maxfield.
So do they believe they're taking it with them after they die? I don't know. I don't know what to think. That's a good question.
And issued a long statement on Instagram where he said that they got permission to, turn off services, which are transponder services, and they got that permission from the air traffic controller. So it can't be both. It can't be, no, it never happened, they just lost service, and Derek Maxfield saying, no, we had communication with the ATC, which is air traffic control, and what we did followed guidelines. So that's already a problem. Secondly, saying that you're not going to release information because you want to protect the integrity of the investigation while also releasing those ridiculous text messages that looked like somebody was having fun on TikTok and making, a ridiculous skit. I don't feel like the investigation has much integrity, or the feds in general have any integrity after you guys gaslit us about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. So if you want us to, or if you want to restore credibility to the feds, I would allow the mommy sleuths to take over. That's my opinion. I'd get in touch and allow the internet to do what the internet does, because now you're answering everything that we brought up. Not me, we.
That is a good point that she just brought up. If you don't want to release information to protect the integrity of the investigation, why would you release information on the text messages? Why would you release the photo or photos, quote, of the, quote, killer, the assassin? I don't know. There's some things that, yeah, I get it, because the public wanted to know, but at the same time, if you really want to keep the integrity of the investigation, I think you would have kept all details enclosed. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe not. I don't know.
Because it is because of the entire world paying attention, sending tips. I'm grateful to God that I have a platform to be able to share that information and to encourage it. But this is just coming from regular people around the world. And now you guys are, it feels like playing defense because you have not been playing offense. So yeah, that would be my free advice. That's not going to be listened to. But while I have your attention, I do have a few more questions that could be answered, or maybe some leads that you guys could be exploring, if you will, because once we began learning about that house next door that's been vacant and is owned by UVU.
Didn't I just talk about that house? That's crazy.
And once we began looking into the witnesses and finding a common last name and looking into Caldera Engineering, as we did last week, again, not implying that they did anything wrong, just telling you factually that witness whose footage ended up in the hands of TMZ runs an engineering company that has a presence worldwide, and they specialize in making these valves. I started thinking, once people told me that valves historically have a connection to the government and the deep state, about how important those valves were to warfare, because if you just want to shut down someone's pipeline, let's say you want to shut off water, or you want to shut off gasoline, yeah, it makes sense why the government would want to be controlling pipelines and valves. But anyways, I started to ask myself, oh, well, is anybody looking into whether or not there was anything under Charlie Kirk when he was shot? Right? Because if we aren't accepting the narrative that that particular gun at that distance didn't pass through, and yet for whatever reason the feds scrambled to repave that area, maybe, as some people have speculated, he was shot from a closer distance. I started wondering, was there an access point to any valves? Were there any pipelines that could have been under Charlie? And as it turns out, I looked at some old pictures of where he was sitting, and there was a massive pipeline that was almost exactly behind where Charlie was sitting. Here's that maybe it's a water pipeline, I don't know, but there it is under the flag. And to your right, I went into my tips line and I saw that somebody had messaged me about this. More than one person messaged me about this. They're like, hey, yeah, there's like a whole underground thing there. And to your right, you're observing those two little boxes. And they told me that was a trap door. Now, I'm not implying someone, popped up and shot Charlie, but that's a close up of that area. I'm just implying that there's an entire underground there.
Interesting. So this is what they did with Brian Koberger's case. I found out a lot of insane things. There's a whole lot of us digging into audio and footage. Let me move the mic closer and trying to pinpoint timelines. Who's Brian Koberger? I've never actually heard of that name. Let me look it up real quick. Brian Koberger. Bitch. Bro, I did not type that shit. Brian Koberger. Damn. Oh, is this the dude that killed those 4 Idaho school people? I think I heard about that. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And I remember when I looked at the footage, I felt like it was coming up. I don't know anything about ballistics. I'm not an expert. But if there was a hatch door nearby, then we can assume, as we should always assume with colleges, obviously stadiums, there's always an underground path. So I'm wondering if the federal government has explored the possibility that somebody could have been under Charlie and done that while everyone's looking around and thinking that a shot went off from here, if that was just maybe like decoy number 2, and actually Charlie was shot from beneath him, which then could maybe explain why there was no exit wound. Again, I'm theorizing because I have a right to. I have a right to think. And that is interesting to me. Where does it go? Where do the tunnels underneath UVU lead to, right? That's an interesting question. Maybe everyone's looking up when we should be looking below, right? Maybe we should be looking below if there is this interest in pipelines. And I saw that actually where he was sitting, there's a whole irrigation system that's managed by the university.
I just thought of something. The alleged assassin right now was above on the roof, but the hatch is on the ground. Now, this is just an idea. So you're smart. I've never came across your channel, but you popped into my feed. Hey, I appreciate you tapping in. Hit that like and subscribe button, man. We go live like 5 days out the week, 4 or 5 days out the week. But anyways, what if the alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, was up top, but the real assassin was below in those tunnels? Now, as above, so below. As above, the assassin, so below, the real assassin underground. Guess whose motto is as above, so below? I will pull it up for y'all. Give me a second. I'll pull it up for y'all. Come on now. It says, in Freemasonry, the phrase as above, so below is a central concept from Hermetic philosophy that signifies a universal correspondence between the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual. So with that being said, it's just an idea, but that would be crazy. So that's exactly what Candace questioned it. Hey, you never know. I've never liked Freemasons because I always know what they were about. But that was just something that popped into my head. That would be crazy. That really would be crazy.
And so there's definitively stuff beneath Charlie. Again, I don't know anything about ballistics, but I've been very clear that we will be exploring every lead until we get a proper answer for what happened. And I think that that would probably be an interesting one for the feds to explore, because within 48 hours, I mean, was it 48 hours, Skylar? They decided to instead pave that area, repave it. Do we have footage of that? Here we go. Yeah, no, they kind of did the opposite here. They paved it. And I feel like was a little soon. So I don't know if things can be unpaid. I'm sure they can, but maybe exploring a tunnel network would be a good start. And I will leave it at that before we get into the absurd. I didn't think it could be more absurd than last week in the manners that I have been attacked.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot to unpack with this. Well, that's not exactly. There is too much to unpack from this. Too much going on. And all I'm saying is Candace needs to watch her back going throughout this, because there's already too much shady stuff going on. I'll just say that. There's already too much shady stuff going on with this case. And I don't want to see the same thing happen to her either.
But over the weekend, somebody reported me to the FBI and the CIA. And I'm not going to prison alone. I'm taking all of you guys. First, let me tell you guys about Preborn, because I've watched too many and I have been attacked. But over the weekend, somebody reported me to, it could leave it at that before we get into the absurd. I didn't think it could be more absurd than last week in the manners that I have been attacked. But over the weekend, somebody reported me to the FBI and the CIA. And I'm not going to prison alone. I'm taking all of you guys. First, let me tell you guys about Preborn, because I've watched too many people who I'm close to be vilified for standing.
She got reported to the FBI and the CIA. What type of hater shit? Come on, bro.
Up for truth. I have felt
Get past the edge.
slash the line abortion down. Double your not me now bordering on from this. Okay. The attacks against me from APAC citizens or Zionists are now bordering on the hysterical. I mean, last week was insane. I got to the point where I just shrugged. Kanye shrugged. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to say. But this is just so funny. I had to share it. I have been meaningfully reported to the FBI and the CIA. And I want to be very clear. You guys are all complicit. Just this weekend, this is real. A real live tweet came from Laura Loomer, our resident psycho. She tweeted this. She's been attacking me nonstop. As part of her grift to monetize the murder of her quote unquote best friend, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens is selling a CIA line of merchandise that is called the Candace Intelligence Agency, which rips off the CIA name and logo. It is a federal felony to use the CIA seal without license. She then cites the code and
the Candace Intelligence Agency, bro. You cannot make this up. Oh, that is hilarious, dude. Hey, you can't make this up, bro. Some people be coming up with just the goofiest things ever.
reads it, sends a quote from it, rather pulls it, and then says, "You are likely breaking the law with your CIA merch, Candace. The CIA can technically sue to get Candace to stop using their logo. It's really disrespectful to Charlie Kirk and the CIA." And then she CCs and tags the director of the CIA. Now, as everybody who watches the show knows, we've been selling that merch since before Charlie got assassinated. So we just continued our show with the merch that we already sold for our show. Obviously, our parody off of the CIA, which is perfectly legal, obviously, was related to the fact that we're always investigating things. So don't let the truth get into your way when you're smearing somebody. But the audacity to actually tag the director of the CIA and ask us to go to prison or to get into trouble is just, I think it really highlights they're insane. It is just insanity. It is reaching new levels. I love the guy who then tweeted under her. This was so good. He just said, "Look at Amazon committing all of these quote unquote federal felonies." And then he says, "F Israel first, Laura Loomer," as just a little side note. And then he shows all the t-shirts on Amazon because, like, obviously you can buy yourself an FBI costume for Halloween if you'd like to. But that wasn't enough because last week was that insane. Like, they just tried to wipe away years of my life by pretending, completely fictionalized, that Charlie and I had a breakup. Right? Eric Bowling did this. He said, I don't know if he was even sober on that program, because he said he hadn't seen me, this is Eric Bowling, since 2015. He interviewed me in 2020, so that was weird. But they were, clearly the call went out to just make up something that never happened. Never happened. I never had a falling out with Charlie Kirk. And so this guy, Awesome Jew, who I heard was also in the Hamptons with Bill Ackman, and that group of people who went out there, he then tries to cleverly release a text message between Charlie Kirk and an unknown individual. The text message has no date, it has no time, and I'm going to tell you why that is, and I'm going to tell you exactly when that text message had to have occurred. But him releasing this tweet spectacularly backfired. The goal, of course, was to prove that Charlie and Candace had a falling out. Look at this message. Charlie's talking trash about Candace, except he's not at all. Instead, what the message did is that it proved exactly what I was saying, that donors and Zionists were attempting to control his speech, my speech, and who he platformed. So these are the text messages that he shared, and he wrote exclusive. A close friend of Charlie Kirk shared these messages. I'm going to guess it's either Seth Dillon or Josh Hammer. It could not be, but I'm just putting that out there because of the style of the messages. And he says he was never wavering on Israel, and they are active. He was actively pushing back on Candace Owens' false narrative. Now, these are the messages he shared. This is the friend of Charlie in blue. He writes, I watched the podcast. Candace needs to say two things, and this will stop in its tracks. They are fundamental conservative principles, and she didn't say either. Quote, Israel is not committing a genocide. Second quote, 30 dead, raped, kidnapped, and beheaded Americans in Gaza makes the fight in Gaza America first. And then he ends it by saying, this is not Ukraine. He's literally saying what I have to say to make something stop in its tracks, right? And then Charlie writes, this is right. I'm really trying to help her. What else is he going to say to this person? And then, but it's that second message that I can tell you exactly what the context was, because I was messaging Charlie about it, and I can tell you the time frame and why they wiped it is because it's from 2023. He then writes, it doesn't come natural to her because I truly think she doesn't understand. Saying that Muslims are forced to live in a Muslim quarter in Israel, and that betrays the timeline. Okay. So what clearly happened in this text chain is that I tweeted, this is when it all started for me, and I started getting threats that I had to take it back if I wanted my life back. And he's kind of saying that there, right? This will all stop. I tweeted that genocide is always wrong. Here's the exact tweet. No government anywhere has a right to commit a genocide ever. There is no justification for a genocide. I can't believe this even needs to be said or is even considered the least bit controversial to state. That tweet was me responding to something that Brian Mast said in Congress. He said, there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian life. That was grotesque. So
That's crazy. No such thing as an innocent Palestinian life. So if you just Palestinian, you just automatically deserve to die, is what that dude's saying. See, look, I disagree with war, with genocide, with death. I disagree with all that. You know, I disagree with the mass BS that's going on with, you know, Israel and Gaza. I disagree with the hostage situation. I disagree with all of it. I don't think any of it should even be going on. I think it's stupid. I think both sides need to come to a truce and then go their separate ways and leave each other alone for all of eternity. But we know that's not going to happen because it's too easy. But neither side is automatically deserving of death because they're Palestinian or they're a Jew or they're a Muslim or whatever. Nobody on either side is automatically deserving of death just because of their bloodline. Like, come on now, bro. So, they all thought we would believe all this. I wonder if they all got together and have a conversation about the way Candace would react. Must have never assumed she'd react this way. Dude, you'd be surprised at a lot of goofy things that people get together and try to force a reaction out of, or even just the things that they get together and talk about and plan. Like, you got to be smarter than that to know Candace isn't just going to, you know, like, come on, dude. A lot of people are just genuinely retarded. And that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. But with that being said, man, this has gone on a lot longer than I had expected it to. This has been very fun. This was lit. I appreciate every single one of y'all for tapping in. Make sure y'all tap that like button and that subscribe button as well. Make sure y'all share with y'all friends, y'all families, your mummies, your aunties, your grannies, and everybody else that y'all know. And I'm going to get this outro pulled up, and we are going to bounce, man. This has been very fun. Very lit episode. We actually checked out a lot of stuff in this episode. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong thing. But no, man, we do content 4 or 5 days out the week. So definitely tap in. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.
You're always watching. They're always waiting. They have eyes everywhere. All the time. Your life is not your own anymore. Everything you do is monitored for their control.